Distillation is really an incredible science, but we call it science. However, when you start learning distillation, you discover that distillation is more of an art than a science, but it's an art through education and experience. I started and began my experience into essential oils in 1985, and my first experience in distillation in 1989. This distillery here that I'm standing beside is one exactly like the one that I first learned on in France in the early 1990s. But let me just tell you a little bit about distillation, because this is another part of the whole process of really determining quality oil and knowing if you do have quality. When I started my journey in 1985 into essential oils, I wanted to know every aspect of it, because I grew up as a boy on a farm and farmed a majority of my early adult life. It was very natural for me to go into farming. Distillation was intriguing to me when I went to France and started studying and learning with the two greatest people that have ever been written about, and that's Marcel Espiau and Henry Vailloux. I was their only student that they ever had in teaching and receiving the training and education of distillation. And both of these men told me that distillation was more of an art than a science. And I started understanding that as I worked in the distilleries with them. And then as I traveled the world distilling in places such as Cape Town, South Africa, where we distilled geranium oil and did some studies there with a group of farmers growing geranium. I have distilled vetiver and ylang-ylang in Madagascar. And I've distilled frankincense in Nairobi in Kenya. I have distilled in Spain. We have our own distillery in France on our farm there. I distilled oregano in Turkey. When I was teaching at the Ege University, a seminar there on essential oils, it was a great experience, and I've made trips there several times for that process. When I was studying biochemistry and essential oil chemistry at the Cairo University with Dr. Rodwin Farag, I would go on the weekends to Fayoum, Egypt, and work in the fields and in the distillery distilling chamomile and jasmine. It was an incredible experience and part of my education. There are multiple factors in understanding the right time for distillation. And unless you have been a distillator and you've been through that, there is no way that you would know when is the precise time to cut the plant, the proper time it takes to mature the plant after cutting, if maturing is required, such as in our farm in Ecuador. There we're distilling at 250 feet below the equator. We have a humidity factor there of 88%. And some of our plants, we have to cut them and lay them on the deck and let them mature under a roof in the shade for 7 days before distillation. And so Young Living takes these pains, I personally take these pains and these measures to assure that without question we have the highest quality of oil that exists in the world. But because we have learned this over the past 25 plus years and develop it, there is no question that Young Living produces the highest quality of oils that exist in the world. I'm going to take you down through the distillery and just show you some of the real unique features of our distillery. And then I'd like to have you come to the lab, and we're going to talk about analysis in the laboratory and how to determine whether the oil is really pure, authentic, therapeutic grade essential oils. And that again, only Young Living can give you that guarantee.